everyone, and welcome to 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford Dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 49 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. We had late-night baseball. We're going to have it all week. And the Red Sox opened up the 7-game road trip with a 4-2 win over the Athletics in Sacramento. Red Sox getting all 4 runs on one swing of the bat. Ceddanne Rafaela, his first career grand slam. He thought he missed it, slammed his bat in anger, thinking he had flied out to end the inning. But instead, it was the grand slam, and the Red Sox got the win. 5 1/3 innings from Peyton Tolle and terrific relief pitching. Again, Red Sox have the best ERA of any bullpen in baseball. Aroldis Chapman finishing it off with his 24th win of the year. Needed 2 strikeouts with 2 men on to wrap things up. But the bad news on the night, as the Red Sox won their 10th consecutive road game, the fact that the newcomer, Curtis Mead, just got 2 plate appearances, struck out in his first at-bat, then got hit by a pitch, 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Tried to stay in the game, left in the middle of the 5th inning. A left wrist contusion is the initial word. Sounds like they dodged a bullet. Here's reaction to Mead's injury and to the win over the Athletics.
How do you feel now, and what were you feeling when it happened?
Yeah, I felt okay. You know, I'm squeezing my hand, feels okay. Yeah, just a little bit of pain rotating. We're able to get an X-ray, and everything looked okay. So yeah, I'm hopeful that feel better tomorrow morning, and yeah, won't be a problem.
Kind of a bummer first game, new team, second at bat.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was kind of thinking, walking to the clubhouse, just like, just super disappointed. I wanted to come here and help the team, and wanted to play. So yeah, it's frustrating.
You stayed in the game to run, played second in the bottom of the 4th. What then changed where you're like, all right, let's go get this look back?
Yeah, I think I wanted to just kind of give it some time before I immediately took. Let them know that I didn't think I could play. I kind of went in after the inning it was over and grabbed the bat, and because hitting was going to be my main concern, and tried to swing it, and it didn't feel really that great. So that was probably the main concern.
Are you going to get any more imaging done tomorrow?
I don't think so. Yeah, no, it feels pretty good. Hopefully, wake up and feel a lot better.
Well, you've done this before, Ceddanne, but how would you describe what it's like to change the game with one swing of the bat?
Feels good. I always want to be in those moments, and happy to help my team.
Getting some bats here from the guys. First career grand slam, but we saw a wide range of emotions from you. But then, as Lou put it, you remembered that you were in Sacramento and the ball can fly. What did you think there?
I thought it was an out. Then I hit it like I wanted to, but it had enough to go out.
Going through that 6th inning, how much did you gain from watching Abreu earn that walk there? How much intel did that help you in your at-bat?
Yeah, I think it was a great at-bat. Credit to him there to pass me the bat and then do the job.
10th straight road win for this group now. What is it about the road that has you guys coming together for these kind of results?
I think we have fun playing in front of the crowds that don't want us to win, and we win ball games.
Well, it certainly is exciting, Ceddanne. You guys continue to be road warriors. Thanks so much for the time, man.
Thank you.
How'd you feel about your stuff tonight?
I didn't. Oh boy. I didn't feel like I had the best stuff. I thought, obviously we had a lot of 2-ball counts. Didn't get crazy ahead of guys, but we did enough. Rafa, big swing, and the boys in the pen holding it down. So it was a good team win.
It seems like as of late that's kind of been the storyline for you. You feel like some lessons have been learned in there about being able to compete and go with what you have on that particular night?
Yeah, absolutely. We're learning. I think we're just learning how to pitch every single time we go out, and we having guys like signing like Ranger examples to watch, just how they compete and how do they go about a game, and it's been a whole lot of fun to learn. Sat next to Sonny after the game today, so it was it's a learning curve every single time we go out there. Just what's next? How can we make this how can we make whatever outing it is, if it's good, bad, ugly, pretty, like whatever it is, like learn from it and go to the next.
This is a part of the season that just kind of tests you personally, just kind of going through this whole first season.
Yeah, I mean we're kind of in that, getting close to that uncharted territories in terms of like innings or just whatever it is like it's like we got to win each day. It's kind of that time of year where like these we're starting to count more and more, and understanding that but not putting too much pressure on it, and just going into each day and how do we win the day.
Along those lines, you today passed your innings total from last season with 2 months, potentially 3 months to go.
Yeah.
How do you feel, and what do you imagine the rest of the year looking like?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I hope that they continue to let me go out there and keep pushing limits, and I'm sure that we see innings, workload, however, whatever it is like it's part of it. But I hope that I can continue to push and listen to the body and listen to how everything's feeling, what do I need that day, and so it's it's cool, and just got to keep going.
When Don hit that ball off the bat, like what was your reaction? What were the reaction of the people? Like, did you guys think it was gone or a fly ball?
It was, I think everybody said in unison, go, keep going. So, all that matters is that it got out. So it's all count the same. That was big.
Well, we've certainly learned not to jump to conclusions one way or another when you talk about an injury, and no doubt there will be follow-up testing, maybe more imaging when he gets to the ballpark. With the time difference, probably won't know much more till later today. But for now, at least, all the news coming out of Sacramento late in the night was that the injury could have been a whole lot worse. There was no structural damage, no broken bones on the imaging. And you heard Mead himself say that he thinks it's going to be a little sore, but that they dodged a bullet. Let's just hope that's true. In the end, the Red Sox do get the win. 10 consecutive road wins. It's just the second longest road winning streak in a single season in the history of the Red Sox. Jake Bennett's going to be on the mound for the second game of the series as the Red Sox try to keep the good vibes rolling this incredible July that has seen them catapult into the playoff race, sitting here right now in second wild card spot in the American League, trailing the Yankees, but now 2 games ahead of the Cleveland Guardians. We've got more on the Curtis Mead acquisition, the trade that really surprised everybody late Saturday night, giving up Connelly Early. We'll hear from Craig Breslow. All that and more coming up as we react to the trade and to the start of this road trip on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling truck for 49 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. We're back after this. 310 to Left is presented by your New England Ford dealers who've been taking everyone out to the ball game at Fenway Park for decades. Catch Ford next time you're at Fenway, including in the Ford Clubhouse, a full-service bar perfect for bringing your lineup together and for recording our live edition of 310 to Left. It's all brought to you by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Well, as you can imagine, it was a roller coaster first day with the Red Sox for Curtis Mead. He actually joined the team in Boston on Sunday and spent a 6-hour flight out to Sacramento getting to know his new teammates. 2 plate appearances, officially 1 at-bat, a strikeout, then he gets hit by the pitch, then he comes out of the game. Before all of that, Mead met up with the media and talked about the emotions of being traded and joining his new club for the stretch run.
It was a whirlwind. I found out probably around 11 o'clock. I was shocked, excited, a bunch of different emotions, and really excited to be here. And I didn't sleep a whole lot Saturday night, so got on the plane Sunday, and here we are.
You been traded a bunch already. Did that make this easier or harder? I mean, you had kind of found a home there in Washington the way you were playing.
I think there's a lot of challenges that come with being traded, and being able to draw from past experience was definitely helpful. I was able to kind of talk to some people that knew some people here in this clubhouse, and everyone just had awesome things to say about the guys here. So that definitely made it easier, and it was excited. I was excited to kind of get over here and meet everyone.
Maybe on that note, to be traded as a big leaguer who was sought after, who cost a pretty penny, going the other way, Connelly Early going the other way. What was it different to be traded like that as opposed to DFA or prospect for prospect or some of the other deals you've been a part of?
Yeah, it was unique. I just remember speaking to my agent just about the whole thing, and he was like, "This is a little bit different to when you were traded in March." It's cool. Everyone here has been awesome, and I feel like they've welcomed me with open arms, and just been super supportive in whatever I need.
When your agent said this is a little different than March, was there a second sentence after that?
I can't really remember. I don't know. I think he was just like, dude, you're going to enjoy it. Boston's an awesome place to play, and, you're joining a really good ball club. So, yeah, it was cool.
This has been a breakout season for you, obviously. What has clicked? What have you finally figured out that's allowed you to do what you're doing?
I think the main thing is just being consistent, with what I've been doing every day. I obviously had some struggles in the past and just tried to find that consistency. And, I kind of made a decision at the start of this year that I was just going to be consistent in what I did every day. And hopefully that, allowed my performance to be a little bit more consistent. And, so far it's worked pretty good. So hopefully continue on that train.
And when you say that means pre-game routine, everything.
Pretty
like
much.
that.
Yeah, just I think in the past in the cage, I've done a bunch of different things, and I'd have a bad game and I'd try something new, and I just wound up with me not feeling super comfortable in the box, and I've tried to be super consistent with what I do every day in the cage to prepare, and so that when I do step in the box, I'm feeling good about myself, and just can put all my focus on the ball.
And when did you find this offensive setup? Like, this is a very different. Like, you've had some different stances and setups. Like, when did you find this, like, kind of like slightly open, hands down?
Probably this year. I it was kind of at the end of the last year. With the year with Washington, just had Chicago. Had some conversations with some people, and just wanted to feel comfortable. I didn't want to put too much stress, and my setup is something that I've put stress on in the past, and I felt like it had to be absolutely perfect for me to be in a good position to hit. So I kind of took the stress away a little bit in that regard, and just wanted to be comfortable, and ultimately landed there. But it's been good, which has been nice.
And just to clarify on that, like, you had like changed around, hand load and like stance and everything, like, in multiple times in season in the past as a general?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I even remember, some of my best seasons in the minor leagues. Yeah. I was a very different hitter depending on the week. I when I was younger, I just was completely results driven, and if I didn't get a hit, I felt like something had to give, and a lot of times that was where my hands were, how my lower body was set up. And it's a challenging way to live when you live like that. So, I just wanted to be consistent with my stance and my work, and it's been cool to kind of get some positive results from that.
And in terms of where you're at now, like, it seems like a little closer to the plate, right? Like, so maybe easier to easier to get to pitches on the outer half and be able to do with them what you want, like less movement in the swing, and so you're able to get more time for swing decisions.
Yep.
A little bit easier to get the contact point moved out. Is
yeah,
that kind of like a reasonable synopsis?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is just trying to keep it simple. I want to keep it short and simple. I'm trying to just stay out of my own way, keep it as compact as possible. Guys just seem to keep throwing harder and harder. So I'd probably try to cut it down a little bit and just be a bit more direct with my swing. And I don't want to go up there, feeling like I have to cheat to a good fastball. So yeah, that's probably the basis of it.
Defensively, I mean, you played mainly third base this year. How do you feel at second from the times you played there, and how do you feel about kind of just being thrown into the fire and starting there tonight?
Yeah, excited. I think last year I played a lot more second than I did third, and earlier in the season in Washington, I had not regular playing time to start the year, I guess. And, every day I'd take a couple at third, I would take a couple at second and some at first. So, it's definitely a spot that I feel comfortable with. And, just excited to kind of work at it and dial it in.
As again, it's been a breakout season at the big league level, but how much did you know that this kind of level of performance was something that was in you, based on the minor league track that you had and things you had done in the past?
Yeah, I obviously was reasonably disappointed with the short kind of stints that I'd got in the big leagues and how they went. But my belief, I guess, never really wavered. And, I felt like if I got the opportunity to play more regularly, that my performance would be a little bit more consistent. And so, it's kind of been cool to get that opportunity in Washington and, make the most of it. And then, ultimately end up in a place like this, which is pretty cool.
You were obviously on your own club at the time and having your own season, but how aware were you of the turnaround that this group had been on?
Pretty aware. I remember listening to something or someone talking about it, that Washington was actually basically the only 2 games that the Red Sox had lost in about the last month. So, we felt it when we came to Fenway. The place was buzzing. It's a really talented roster, and, I don't think anyone's really surprised with the success the group's had.
How do you feel hitting there in Fenway?
It feels good. It's, the left field wall's kind of interesting. You don't want to get too aggressive towards it, but, knowing that it's not a massive hit out there is exciting. So,
With you get to Boston yesterday, and basically the first thing you do is get on the plane for 5 or 6 hours. What was that like? Did you play cards with guys? Did you sleep after not sleeping Saturday night? Like, how did you spend those hours, and did you get to know guys at all?
I think it was all of the above what you said. Got some rest, had some cool conversations with a few of the guys, and I just remember kind of sitting down towards the end of the flight after speaking to some guys and just feeling better about the situation. I think getting closer to the guys and creating those relationships is important, and it was cool to kind of talk some baseball and to get to know everyone.
All right, it's time now for our game plan for success presented by MassMutual. Scan to learn more about their Grand Slam giveaway. Enter and see the official rules at massmutual.com/Red Sox. J.P. Ricciardi was with me late in the night for the post-game coverage of that very first game, but so much of the talk around the game in Sacramento was about the acquisition of Mead. Before he made his debut, before he got hit by the pitch, the baseball world was deciding if the Red Sox had paid too much by sending Connelly Early to the Washington Nationals. I asked JP that very question. There's a lot of national feedback after this that the Red Sox overpaid for him. What's your take on that?
I disagree with that because I think it's hard to find bats, and it's also hard to find cheap, controllable bats. So they found a guy that fits into what they want to do budgetary-wise, and they got a quality bat that fits their ballpark really well. And I think with Connelly Early, there's still some questions on him, as far as being able to hold up. I like him, but the elbow is a concern of mine.
We were talking before, right? Last night we were saying that this is a guy who didn't throw that hard in college. And all of a sudden you've ramped up and made this guy into what he is now. But that's a lot of wear and tear on the arm.
And, I hate to say this because you don't want to wish it bad on anybody, but where there's smoke, there's fire sometimes. When you start hearing of tendon strain or you hear flexor, he's got some elbow stuff. It's not gone away. And I know he's going to come back at some point, but that's a concern.
All right, Mead had settled in at the number 2 spot in the lineup for Washington. That's where he jumps in here with the Red Sox. You surprised they moved Rafaela, who's been really good in that 2-hole. You surprised they moved him?
I was, but I think it's more of a situation where Tracy is thinking, I want to make this guy as comfortable as possible right now. And if he's comfortable hitting in the 2 spot, I think let's keep him there.
Yeah, Tracy talked about liking left, right, right. That's unusual, right?
Yeah.
Usually you hear everybody want left, right, left, right. But he's saying, I like a couple of right-handed boppers behind a lefty.
And you're starting to get into the season now where you can actually plan matchups because you know who you're facing and you're almost down to games instead of like, I got to think about 3 or 4 months. So I like the way he's thinking about putting things together as he approaches each series.
All right, interesting when you look at me because I've heard the word finally, from a lot of people, he's finally figured it out. The dude's 25 years old.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a 10-year vet, you know. A lot of guys are just coming up at 24, 25 years old. When you see a guy who all of a sudden, after a few years in and out of the majors, he's put it together, he's figured it out. How much of a concern is it that that's kind of just a 2-month sample of a good run? Or when you hear that I've become more consistent, I've stopped moving my hands, I've stopped changing my load every time I start going wrong. How much is this sustainable, do you think, for Mead?
I think it's very sustainable. I think he's figuring out who he is. As you know, it takes a long time to get settled into the big leagues. And all you have to do is look at the Red Sox. You know, Cedon is a guy that stopped chasing as much this year, so he's made adjustments. I think you have to play a little bit to figure out how your swing works and make adjustments. I like the move. I think they bought a stock low that's going to pay off for him.
And the swing made for Fenway, obviously.
Oh, unbelievable.
Won't get there till next week, but we know that right-handed power can play there. He goes in at second base, and I feel that's as much because you don't want to mess with Durbin right now as it is anything
I agree
else.
with you. I think Durbin's played a gold glove third base. He changes the game at third base. I think with Mead, you can position him, you know, pitch to pitch, hitter to hitter. It's a lot easier to just keep him there instead of moving Durbin over the second base and then moving him to third. You got too many moving parts at that point. Manage what you can manage and keep him in the middle of the field over there.
Sunday morning when the deal, you know, we were sort of unpacking the deal at Fenway Park, you and I both thought Cheng would stick around, that the defense would be important off the bench. How surprised were you that he's gone?
I was really surprised, and I think you agree with me on that because I think if you got a guy like Mead and he's not a really good defender, let's say he's a C defender, when you get the lead late in the game, Cheng's a really good guy to bring into play short and move Monasterio over to second or vice versa. So I think the way this team is constructed, having a defensive replacement late in the game like him is going to make more of a difference than maybe running Siegler out there.
How tough will it be now? Siegler's not going to probably play a whole lot. You know, and you saw something there. Obviously, he went on a little run. Tougher to maintain that when you're not playing every day.
That's why I think he should have went down and continued to get at-bats. Cheng is more suited to be that guy. He could sit a while. You can always find a way to get him in the game. He could pinch run. He could come in for defense at second, at short. I think he's more adaptable to that role than maybe. I think you're going to stagnate Siegler a little bit by taking at-bats away from him.
All right, first game with Mead here. Yoshida was still the DH. He was leading off. I think for all the talk about this offense, we've overlooked that. It's been a pretty good year for Yoshida.
Oh, he's had a great year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done at one point, Mickey Gasper and him were pretty much the guys that were getting on base. I mean, when you know this whole thing started a little while ago, and he's just carried it through. He's been very, very consistent. And look, you need those little engines that could in your lineup, and he keeps pushing the lineup. You need a guy like that.
All right, now bring me back into the GM's office. You make a deal a week before the trade deadline. You catch your breath for a moment, but you don't have a lot of time to catch your breath. Do the calls change? Do the conversations change? Like, you've got one in the bank.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now you don't have to prove to anybody, not that you do, but, you know, fans want to see action. You've got some action. Does that take pressure off what he does this week?
I don't know if it takes pressure off, but at least you feel like I got one in the bag. I addressed something, whether, you know, you think it's a major move or I have addressed something for the club. I'm showing the club that I'm paying attention to what's going on. I'm adding to the club. So I think you have a little bit of like, okay, now I can operate with a little bit more of, I hold the cards here. Red Sox can do anything they want. They got some chips. It's just a matter of they don't want to fire those chips.
What's it do to a team? Like, we talk so much about the spark a team gets. Like, this team especially, right? A month ago, it was nothing. Now they go on this incredible run, and as you wrap up an 8-2 homestand, you drop this guy into it and say, go get him.
I remember in 2015, we were battling. We traded for Cespedes. We brought him in the clubhouse. The guys were on fire. We swept the Nationals that weekend. We took over first place. We never stopped. The only time we woke up was in Game 3 of the World Series.
Yeah, you got that. And when did you get that utility infielder, Jose Bautista? Yeah, that was a guy who worked out okay.
We traded for Bautista in the spring training, and I'll never forget the president saying, "You traded Robinson Diaz?" I said, "Trust me, we'll be okay with this one."
Okay, so again, just to revisit that now, the last week, whether you've made a deal or nothing, this is when the calls get real.
Yeah.
What are they like? We always wonder, like, are there names being thrown at you this week that you hadn't heard, or are most of these conversations that you've already been having for days and weeks?
I think it's a mixture of both. Yeah. I think at some point, you know, some guys get a little punch drunk, you know, as they get later into the trading season, and they say, "What about this guy? What about this guy?" And you say, the next day you call them and say, I don't know what I was thinking. That guy, he's not available. We're not making that trade.
But when you, I mean, again, I think people think it's just to pick up the phone and say,
No.
hey, I want him. I mean, these are your lieutenants who are talking to each other, right? There's multiple conversations going on.
And especially now, everything is vetted out. There's so much information out there. There's so many, people that are passing judgment on the trades. You got to run it up the ladder to your president, to the ownership group. So many people have to sign off, and it's a lot harder now to make a trade.
Yesterday or Sunday, Craig Breslow said it wasn't about winning the trade. It was about getting a guy we thought could help our team. How refreshing is it to hear that? Because it feels like you don't hear that these days. Everybody wants to win the trade now.
When Billy Beane first became the GM, he was really, really a little antsy about making trades. And I said to him, Billy, and I was the guy doing all the evaluation. I said, Billy, let's have this mindset. Let's not worry about who we're giving up. Let's worry about who we're getting. And I think in this case, if you have that mindset, you got to give up something to get something. But if you're getting someone back you like, hey, you hope the other guy goes and plays well. You can continue making trades.
Or at least a popular guy.
Yeah.
Really liked in the clubhouse. Is that a message that needs to be relayed to the team? Obviously, they're fired up about getting Mead, but is that up to the manager? Is that Tracy to make sure everybady's okay? Especially like Tolley's his best friend, right? You got relationships there.
They have to realize it is a business, and you are trying to win. They didn't make a trade that you look back. It's not the Jaylen Brown trade where you sit there and go, why did they make this? This is a trade where you say, okay, we need offense. They went out and got offense. I think, you got to be a big boy if you put on a big league uniform. You got to understand there's some trades that are going to happen. You're going to lose some friends. But I thought it was a trade that addressed a need for the club.
Well, whatever you think about the price they paid to get Curtis Mead, you cannot argue the fact that Craig Breslow made an early move to try to help the Red Sox get over the finish line in the playoff race and go deeper than last year's wild card loss. 17 home runs, right-handed power, exactly what the Red Sox have been looking for from this lineup. And he was there at Fenway Park after the news broke and spoke to the media about what Mead brings to this team.
A lot of trade conversations and concepts kind of drag out over the course of days, weeks, months even. This one came together pretty quickly. I think was a good opportunity for each team to meet some objectives. And so there wasn't a whole lot of back and forth, outside of making sure that we did as much work as we possibly could, and got as comfortable as we could. Because anytime you give up a player like Connelly Early, it's really tough. But looking at our roster, looking at our needs, we felt like this was something that makes us better.
As for that work you did, what is it about Mead that you feel what he's done this year is sustainable?
Sure. I think we had a lot of information available to us. There was, the kind of objective information that we have, some live looks from scouts and scouting reports, talking to the coaches here, and it does seem like there were meaningful changes to his setup, where he was holding his hands, to his bat path, to his stride, to where he's consistently getting to more damage. He's always had good bat to ball skills. He's never really chased. He doesn't swing and miss a ton. Has had good bat speed, and then kind of put it all together, but put it all together in a way that we think is real and sticky. So we feel like the way that he's performed over the last few months is actually the guy that we're getting. Yeah, so, I think right out of the gates, the plan is for me to get work at second, for Durbin to stay at third. We'll put that in Trace's hands. But I know Trace has talked to Derb. He's talked to Siegler. I've talked to Curtis. And the one thing that all three have said is we are willing to do whatever is best for the team. No, we'll still work through that. Obviously, it's been a whirlwind 12 hours or so for all parties. So we'll kind of make sure we get Curtis here. I think he's scheduled to travel later in the day, not in time for today's game, and then we'll figure out what the corresponding move is.
Craig, what does the timing of the deal say about how you were reading the market? It's unusual to have a deal of this consequence, 7 or 8 days before the deadline. What did the timing say about your take on things moving and the market getting established?
Probably a few things. In a perfect world, I'm sure everybody would like to have all of the different concepts in front of them, line them up, and then make a decision. At the same time, these decisions are always I don't think there's a comfortable trade that gets made this time of year. And there are a few advantages for us. One is we felt like this is something that makes us better, and independent of the alternatives, we felt like this made sense for us. The other thing is that, getting 7 or 8 extra games with Curtis Mead in our lineup is real. So we don't want to discount the value of getting those at bats here.
Obviously, it's a 1-for-1 major league trade. How would you answer the buy versus sell question now? Is this a clear, you're going to be looking for more upgrades to the major league roster? Is that a clear sign of that?
I think this move it makes our major league roster better, and that's not to diminish Connelly Early and what I think he's capable of. I think he's gonna be a really good starting pitcher for a long time with the Nationals. But what our roster needed right now, we thought was someone who can hit at the top of the order, the middle of the order. He's a particularly good fit for our park, just given kind of the batted ball profile and the power. And so we think he makes us better. He makes us better in the short term and the long term. He's 25 years old. Obviously, it's been kind of a bumpy road at times for him to kind of settle in and establish himself as a big leaguer. But at 25, still feel like his best years are ahead of him. So we think this is a move to make us better in 26, and we'll continue to look for those opportunities.
The Nationals were said to have been talking about another infielder who might have been a fit here. Were there other variations or deals that got talked about here, or was he kind of your focus from the beginning?
Without getting into the specifics about other concepts, at this point in the season, every team is having conversations about a wide group of players, and then pretty quickly, as we talked about, this narrowed down into, hey, what are we looking for? And a right-handed bat that could hit in the middle of the lineup, that could play the infield. This made a lot of sense.
You see him getting DH at bats too?
He could. Again, I don't want to kind of get into specifics, and I feel like Trace has a really good sense for how to put the pieces together, and when someone might need a day off their feet. But you think about it, and just kind of given the way the roster was built, Wilson has needed to play first base almost every day that he's been able to, and Durbin's had a ton of games at third, and so just maybe giving a chance for me to get a DH day, or some of the other guys. Again, I'll leave it up to Trace, but that flexibility I think is beneficial to the group.
Craig, you talked about different positions for different players. Did that make it easier to make the deal knowing you had that positional flexibility between Durbin, you said he plays second, third, whatever?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, just because it gives you more options. It gives you options day to day. It gives you options within games to mix and match and find the right matchups. And also just the willingness of Caleb and Curtis to play wherever is best for the team, I think makes it easier. So, I think the short answer is of course, knowing that there's a group of players who are going to put each other first, put the team first, and also have the ability to move around. I think that's what every manager would hope for.
The American League picture kind of weird this year, the playoff race and everything. Did that kind of spur you to want to act a little bit aggressively in terms of making a trade so far out of the deadline, since it's unclear who exactly is going to sell, who's going to buy, and everyone could conceivably get back in this race?
Yeah, I think the players deserve it. I think the fans deserve it. It has been a turbulent path to get here. But as we sit here today, a week out from the deadline, the resilience and kind of toughness of this team has become very apparent, and the opportunity to upgrade is something that we're looking for, and fortunate to be able to do it at this point.
Have you had conversations with the players, kind of telling them what you just told us?
I have tried to be as outspoken as possible, even in the face of a lot of skepticism that we believe in the players, we believe in this team, we believe in the group, and they're surrounded by a lot of people who are instilling confidence in them, and I think it's bringing the best out of them.
You've obviously given up early. It's kind of a tough thing to do. How much does the emergence of Bennett, totally with some of the other depth you have, make it possible to move a guy like that?
Sure, it's incredibly uncomfortable to move a really talented starting pitcher, especially one with a ton of control, and more than that, one as quality of a human and a teammate as Connelly is. He's beloved in the clubhouse. I've got tremendous respect for him. I made that really clear when I talked to him. But sure, when you look up and you see what Peyton's been able to do and what Jake's been able to do, you have to be willing to move from areas of depth, no matter how much it may hurt, if you're trying to address some other part of your roster. And we were able to do that. And I do think that speaks to the quality of the performance we've gotten from the rotation and the development of some of the younger guys that are coming up through the system.
What do your projections say about Mead's swing, particularly in this ballpark, and what he's capable of doing in this environment?
Yeah, we feel like he's a really strong fit for our park. Right-handed hitter who hits the ball hard, hits the ball in the air, and can pull the ball. And a lot of those swing adjustments that we talked about earlier have facilitated that batted ball profile. So, he's also a guy that's been a top 30 prospect in baseball not too long ago. He's kind of got that pedigree. I don't think this is coming out of nowhere, but all of those pieces have come together in a way that maybe has clicked with some just additional run that he's gotten. But as we think about profiles that fit really well for our park, he's pretty close to the top of the list.
Is trading a major leaguer for another major leaguer sort of a reflection of there not being a whole lot of sellers right now in the market?
I think I think there's that. I think there's probably a bit more level playing field, both on the field in terms of how much parity there exists, and then also in front offices, where a lot of front offices are looking at very similar information. So trying to find an opportunity to win a trade is not nearly as easy as maybe it would have been at another point. And instead, I think in this position, I've tried to shift to our goal is not to win the trade. Our goal is to make our major league team better. And sometimes the most straightforward way to do that is a need for need type trade, where obviously Washington, we saw firsthand how potent their offense is. And I know that they're trying to find additional pitching. And for us, we felt like pitching was a strength of the team, and we wanted to boost our offense.
When it is a need for need trade, might you have made this trade 3 weeks ago, even before the hot streak, even before your sort of season turned around? Is this the type of thing you might have still done?
I think that's a fair characterization. When our standings, when our record was in a different place than it is right now, I think the way that we had thought about this deadline was, are there moves that would have made sense heading into the season? Are there moves that would make sense next off season? And this one, turning controllable pitching into controllable kind of middle of the order bats was something that was always going to be worth looking at. So yeah, I think that's a good way of framing this.
How would you describe your wish list a week out, if there is one?
Yeah, I think it'll sound vague or evasive if I were to say we're going to continue to look at opportunities to upgrade the team. But I think that's kind of where we are, and there are a few different paths to do that. But it's not quite clear how the market is going to materialize.